Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing some of the things I noticed when I watched What is a Woman, the documentary made by Daily Wire host Matt Walsh. The fact that a movie with this title needed to be made is ridiculous. People are always saying be more evolved to mean be a better human, yet a movie with this title suggests that as a human race, some of us have devolved so much that we have forgotten what the fuck a basic word means. Okay, so in all sincerity, I know that no one has forgotten what the word means, but that makes this whole thing even worse, because we know what it means, but some of us are such cowards that we refuse to acknowledge that we know what a woman is. All because someone who looks like this is threatening to yell at us if we acknowledge our intelligence by defining the word woman. Guess what? Who cares if this person yells at you? People like this yell at everyone. Why are you trying to please this person? Do they hold some sort of important place deep in your heart? As a society, we have got to stop people pleasing so I can stop yelling about things on this channel. Saying what others want to hear is stupid, especially when the person you're trying to please is stupid and the thing you're saying is also stupid. Jesus H. Christ Almighty. That's Jesus' full name, in case you were wondering. I noticed certain conversation patterns and tactics with people who believe in far-left ideology, and I'll be discussing some of these patterns in this video because, oh boy, were they obvious in this movie. The first clip I'm going to be discussing is when Matt interviews a gender-affirming therapist named Gert Comfrey. Gert claims that from birth, we live in gendered worlds where there are certain imperatives placed on us based on how we've been gendered. Gert also claims that how we have been gendered dictates what clothing we wear, the type of play that we're going to engage in, and the path our lives will take based on social expectations. Here we have the claim leftists often make, where it's society's fault for all of the problems everyone faces and that we're all victims of society. Leftist women especially are always complaining that society places bad expectations on girls while it places good expectations on boys. Really, because the draft back in the day when we sent young boys off to war to get their arms and legs blown off, that was good societal expectations, right? As a woman myself, and yes, I know what a woman is, and no, I will not be goddamn bullied into pretending that I don't. As a woman myself, I do not remember anyone telling me I had to do anything just because I was born female. This therapist is right that the world is gendered. But the fact that she thinks we don't have a choice to step out of these gendered worlds is wrong. The invisible rules society suggests are just that, suggestions. Have I had people ask me stupid questions based on the fact that I'm a woman? Sure. I've been asked if I have children. Do I think it's because I'm a woman that they ask that? Sure. When I was younger, the people who asked me that were always asking me in terms of the future. As they'd say, how many kids do you want? Assuming that because I'm a woman, I want kids. And when I got older, the question would change to past tense with how many kids do you have? Assuming that because I'm a woman and I'm older, that must mean I have already had kids. I don't have any and have never wanted any, so I just respond with that. Some people get confused because they can't wrap their head around my life choices. The only reason people ask me these questions is maybe one for small talk, but also based on the biology that women are born with the capability to carry kids. And the societal thought that most women like babies, so the chances the woman will say they want or have kids is high. I don't take this question as a slight against me because I'm a woman. I only get annoyed if the person tries to convince me to conform to wanting kids after I've expressly said that I don't want any and I'm making the choice not to. The societal imperative they're trying to put on me has no bearing on me. They can do it all they want, but my life is my life. I do what I want to within reason, no matter what societal imperatives tell me I should do. This is a free country, allegedly, so I always just live my life how I want. I think if I was a man, the kid question might come up after the question, are you married? Because usually men who are single are not thought of as people who want children. The gendered world the therapist mentions is why this happens, but it's not this horrible thing like she's implying. This therapist says there are societal expectations that put limitations on what clothing people wear, how people play, and the path in life that people will take. Well, I'm a girl, so I think I actually have the privilege of wearing whatever I want. Oh yeah, girls actually have the privilege here. We tell little boys that they can't wear dresses, but do we ever tell little girls that they can't wear pants? I have seen pictures of myself as a little kid, and I've been spotted wearing dresses just as much as I have been spotted wearing pants. My mom used to make clothes for me, and I remember one time she dressed me in a matching button-down shirt with shorts that had palm trees all over them. The fact that my mother made that outfit for me, and the fact that it seemed like it was mainly a green outfit, which was neither boy nor girl colors, makes me think that my mother was really not thinking of gendering anything regarding me. She knew I was a little girl, and she knew that I needed clothes, so she made some. It's really not that goddamn complicated. My type of play was also never dictated to me. My mother never told me I had to play a certain way, and neither did my father. I don't even know what the hell this therapist is talking about. I played kickball, rode bicycles with my dad, played catch with my dad, watched movies with my mom, watched Saturday morning cartoons alone, pretended to be the characters I saw on screen, played with Legos, toy cars, action figures, Play-Doh. I hid inside the pots and pans cabinet for some odd reason, jumped off the swings, and climbed on top of the jungle gym at the playground. As far as the path my life would take, my dad wanted me to make a lot of money so I could be self-sufficient, and my mom just wanted me to be happy. Maybe this is all anecdotal, and maybe the majority of women will look at me and be like, well, I was stuck in womanly expectations. Fine, but don't you dare deny my lived experience of having cool parents. This conversation Matt had with the therapist brings up something I am really exhausted of hearing from leftists. They say they don't like gender roles because it stunts people's self-expression, yet at the same time, they'll say that a boy wearing a dress is a girl. If you don't like gender roles, why are you saying dresses are feminine? You should be able to dress your little girl in a tuxedo and your little boy in an evening gown, and it shouldn't matter because according to you, clothes are just pieces of fabric that cover us. Men's clothes and women's clothes shouldn't exist according to the left. Yet their justification for turning a child trans is often, well, the boy dressed up in his sister's clothes and his mother's high heels, so he's a girl. What? Detective Knight here with the Common Sense Police Department. Here to slap some common fucking sense back into you idiots. We need to discuss the terms gender and sex because people are confused. Gender is actually a linguistic term. That means in certain languages like French, women say words differently than men do. For example, a woman would say, Je suis américaine, whereas a man would say, Je suis américain. The pronunciation of the word for American is different based on whether the person is a woman or a man. The word is gendered, not the person. Gender nowadays, as we know it, when it is tied to the ideology, is the opinion of John Money, who claimed that gender was a social construct that was dictated by nature. Money thought that if you raised someone with girl things, they would become a girl. He was wrong. Yet, in 2022, we are taking his opinion as truth. Opinions are not facts! Sex is determined by biology. Inside a person, chromosomes are different between men and women, as well as the manifestation of external versus internal genitalia. Bone density, height, muscle mass, and fat content are also factors determined by a person's sex. Women have a vocal range that is generally higher than men who have a lower vocal range. We move on to Marcy Bowers, gynecologist and gender confirmation surgeon. Matt brings up the trans-disabled people. Because, yeah, that's a thing, apparently, where people who want healthy body parts removed because their mind has convinced them they should be disabled. What is wrong with the world? Don't answer that or we'd be here for 1,000,000 years. The surgeon gets confused and doesn't see how the common behavior of wanting to remove healthy body parts is similar to how some people want their healthy body parts removed because their mind has convinced them they should be the opposite sex. As I was watching this, I got really annoyed because I felt like people don't understand analogies anymore. Detective Knight again. Analogies. Am I reading this right? We've forgotten what analogies are and how they work? For fuck's sake. Analogies are when you compare two things which are comparable to each other in significant respects. That doesn't mean they're exactly the same. It means they have one or two aspects that are similar. So it helps you see the similarity between two different things. In Matt's case, the similar thing was the cutting off healthy body parts. In both the trans-disabled people and the transgender people, they have both been convinced by their minds that they are not correct in their physical appearance. Therefore, they want to cut off the body parts they think are wrong, despite the body parts being healthy. That's the analogy, okay, gender confirmation surgeon? Jesus. Next we have Michelle Forcier, a pediatrician and professor who didn't want to answer questions that Matt asked and ended up bringing unrelated nonsense in to throw into the conversation.
Male gametes. That's what makes me male.
No, your sperm don't make you male.
Then what does?
It's a constellation.
In reality, in truth, okay?
Whose truth are we talking about?
The same truth that says we're sitting in this room right now, you and I.
No, you're not listening.
Deflection is a tactic this pediatrician uses when Matt asked his question, which was very, very simple. There are basic scientific facts that make a man male, like his chromosomes and the type of reproductive material his body produces. There's a reason men on average appear more masculine than females on average. The fact that this person claims to be a pediatrician yet doesn't know or refuses to say the scientific facts that make a man male is disturbing. The fact that people claiming to be doctors are running around deliberately refusing to acknowledge anatomy should be questioned. The deflection to constellations is just... Well, I don't even know what the fuck the pediatrician was trying to say with that word. And then when she accuses Matt of not listening, I feel like she wasn't listening to Matt.
If I see a chicken laying eggs and I say that's a female chicken laying eggs, did I assign female or am I just observing a physical reality that's happening in the world?
Does a chicken have gender identity? Does a chicken cry?
Well,
Does a chicken commit suicide? Let's frame it, because you're trying
to... Chicken has sex like any biological organism.
A chicken has an assigned gender, but a chicken doesn't have a gender identity.
So we assign female to chickens when they lay eggs?
We assume they're female if they lay eggs.
Her absolute dedication to denying reality, though, is pretty commendable, because she does a pretty good job of appearing consistently insane throughout the entire clip. This pediatrician goes further down the hole of insanity, if you can believe it, in another clip where she says that puberty blockers are reversible because they're just putting a pause on puberty, which is a blatant lie.
At what age does the medical transition begin with medication?
So medical affirmation begins when the patient says they're ready for it. So that could be a kiddo who is just starting puberty and panicking because they're getting breast buds or their penis is getting bigger and busier and they're worried about all kinds of masculine changes. And that way, puberty blockers, which are completely reversible and don't have permanent effects, are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. Just like if you were listening to music, you put the pause on and we stop the blockers and puberty would go right back to where it was. The next note in the song just delayed that period of time.
Now, back to the CSPD, and I give Detective Knight another file for her to explain. She's really not going to like that I'm going to ask her to explain puberty to people, which is something that everyone has gone through for the entirety of human existence. I can't believe I have to explain puberty to you idiots. All the idiots who are identifying as medical professionals have gone through puberty themselves, allegedly, because they look like adults, despite acting like absolute fucking children. Okay? Puberty is so much more than just genitalia and reproductive material maturing. It solidifies your bone density. It develops your brain a little more. Your skin, your hair changes, your weight changes because your muscles develop more. You get taller, which also adds to your weight. That's where growth spurts happen. Your face matures a little more and looks less childlike. Your head gets bigger, so you're ready to have an adult-sized body in all aspects. With all of this shit changing, do you really fucking think you can pause it and have it resume normally after you've pumped yourself full of chemicals to stop it from happening? Are you delusional enough to really not expect the chemical you've been putting into your body not to fuck with all the chemicals naturally inside your body?
One of the drugs used is Lupron, right? Which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders?
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview because it seems like it's going in a particular direction.
Well, you're a medical professional.
I am a medical professional.
So you don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids, or?
Again, I'm a physician and I use medication. You're choosing exploitive words. Drugs I give to kids.
I'm choosing a
chemical
word
castration.
that was in a dictionary.
That's not a correct term for puberty blocking.
I could look it up on my phone, but I'm pretty sure if I looked it up,
you can look it up on your phone.
It says medical definition: the administration of a drug to bring about a marked reduction in the body's production of androgens and especially testosterone.
And I'm saying, as a pediatrician who takes care of hundreds of these kids, when you use that terminology, you are being malignant and harmful.
I mean, there are some who would say that giving chemical castration drugs to kids is malignant and harmful.
It's about the context of caring for a child and seeing the suffering that kids can have that have not been in affirmative home situations.
Another tactic this alleged pediatrician uses are when she makes that reversible claim. Matt then questions, isn't that the same drug used to castrate pedophiles? And she just flat out refuses to answer, which is her tactic. When she refused to answer, it made me think the answer to Matt's question is yes. And she knew that. And she didn't want to admit that horrifying fact. It's like when you have been caught in a lie and you have nothing to say because you can't say anything without looking like you're complicit in horrifying activities and you don't want to be, but you can't deny that you are. The next infuriating person Matt interviews is named Patrick Gerzanka, professor of women, gender, and sexuality studies, whatever the hell that means, at the University of Tennessee. Deflection comes up again with a women's studies professor when he and Matt get into a kerfuffle over the word truth. The lovely professor gets offended by the word truth, and then when Matt asks why the truth offends him, he can't answer. Then he deflects. This is someone who clearly has no beliefs of his own because he doesn't even know why he's mad. He just knows he should be mad. Then he agrees with Matt that it's the job of a university to pursue truth. Seriously? The things people get fucking offended by these days? This university professor says that the use of the word truth is transphobic. Whatever the fuck that means. The level of stupid in that statement is just so stupid I can't even. This is why I get so pissed off at the left, okay? They just call you names when you don't bow down at the altar of their religious beliefs. Yeah, I said religious because they treat everything they believe as if it's gospel truth, while weirdly being offended at the same time by the word truth. Guess what, genius? I don't have to believe everything you do. The whole world doesn't have to believe the same fucking thing you do, okay? That's what the Puritans did when they called everyone heathens for not believing in God. How is this any damn different? When you call someone transphobic, you're basically just calling them a heathen. And name calling someone for not saying what you want them to is what a bully does. So this professor is a fucking bully. Okay, I'm seriously annoyed for all the students who take his stupid class at his university. The cluelessness of this professor when he doesn't put two and two together after Matt brings up the fact that it's the job of a university to pursue truth, and he's just like, well, yeah, the university pursues truth. Of course. Yeah, duh. Without realizing that he literally just said that the word truth is offensive. How and why would you pursue something that you find offensive? Of course, I know the truth, which is that this professor is towing the leftist party line. In the leftist Bible, you can't say woman, and you can't admit that there's objective truth, which is what this professor is doing, which is infuriatingly annoying as fuck. Matt doesn't just interview leftists in this movie, as evidenced by his visit to Dr. Miriam Grossman. She says that the unnatural rise in preteens and adolescents being diagnosed with gender dysphoria comes from them being manipulated and influenced by external forces. The left always claims that the rise in people identifying as transgender is because society is more accepting, so more people feel like they can come out. Yet I'd like to point out that it's also the left who says that transgender people are not accepted in society and that they get killed in record numbers as opposed to everyone else. Which is it? Is society more accepting or is society less accepting? In 2021, 47 transgender people were reported to have been murdered. That's a record number, 47? How about in the summer of 2021, 1,606 people were shot in one single 3-month period in Chicago, and 800 of them died. They don't call my hometown more dangerous than Afghanistan for fun. It's 'cause sometimes it's true. Chicago, the fuck is wrong with you? Preteens and adolescents are incredibly vulnerable to social contagion. Have you ever met teenagers? Have you ever heard of peer pressure? Have you ever heard of adolescents doing things they don't want to, but will do to become the popular kid at school? These are notions I thought everyone knew.
And so they go on the internet and they're told that all of their problems will be solved if they become a man.
So you worry that there could be a sort of social contagion element of this?
A teeny tiny bit, maybe.
Okay. Having been a teenager myself before, the amount of peer pressure is always going to be high. And the topic of peer pressure is going to be what is trendy in society at the time. Right now, the alphabet mafia is emotionally blackmailing everyone into making us all feel bad for them. and the left is morally blackmailing everyone into being a good person. So put those two things together, and the pride flag being in every goddamn classroom across America, you have an equation for social contagion where teenagers are probably going to try to give in to peer pressure of joining the alphabet mafia. Selena Sewell was a track and field athlete, and her high school career was riddled with her not being able to even be an athlete because she said she had to compete against boys her entire high school career, and the boys won every single match. We shouldn't be surprised. Here's Detective Knight to explain why we shouldn't be surprised. Let's talk about male privilege. Before you run screaming for the hills because I said male privilege, hear me out. Every boy who directly competed against this female track and field athlete beat her in all the races. Both sexes have privileges, including men, but I'm not talking about it in the annoying social justice way the left does. On average, men have longer limbs because they are taller than women. Now, imagine the man who is on average taller, who has been training in track and field just as much as the woman, who is on average shorter. They both train and get really good. But the man going off his testosterone to become a trans woman does not make him shorter. He will still have the long legs that he had before he went off the testosterone. Now, the longer legs plus the hard training to become an athlete will give you an advantage when running against someone who is shorter because you can cover more distance with your longer legs. The privilege of the man having longer legs is why the boys win every match. And it's also why we had separate sports divisions. Fuck, why do I have to explain common sense shit all the time? Matt interviews one of Leah Thomas's teammates who is anonymous on camera. She says winning doesn't feel like winning. She got called transphobic for asking questions. Psychologists were brought in to tell the girls they needed psychological help, which is the ultimate example of gaslighting. And she said she was threatened with blacklists from athletic jobs if any of them dared to speak out against Leah. Activists fail to understand that bad people will take advantage of their cause to do bad things, which causes the delegitimization of their cause. I don't think Leah Thomas falls into this category because I think Leah did want to be an athlete. However, I do think the boy in a skirt who raped a girl in a bathroom, then got a pass, then was moved to another school where he proceeded to rape another girl in another bathroom in Loudoun County, is one of those bad people who will use the LGBTQ cause to his advantage to be a sex predator. Throwing all these people in one protected class isn't the answer, because then you have people like the Loudoun County rapist lumped in with Leah Thomas who just wanted to swim. I reacted to a Tucker Carlson video a few years ago where a feminist was talking about this very problem. She had foreseen that some bad men would probably try to enter women's spaces under the trans cause, and she was right. The activists, though, the activists don't give a damn, as long as they can continue to shove their agenda down the throats of the general public for attention.
The interview's over. Let's turn off the cameras.
Excuse me,
They're fair. I just wanted to know, what is a woman?
and you're not gonna find.
This next interview just really annoyed me. This one and the professor at the University of Tennessee were probably two of the most infuriating interviews in this entire documentary. So Mark Takano, Democrat congressman from California, of course didn't want to answer Matt's question, and the tactic that he used was one that really irritates me, which is asking why the person is mentioning the topic and then refusing to have a conversation because they want to avoid answering the question. So it's this complicated mental gymnastic horse shit. So basically what happens is Matt asks the congressman what the bill is that he is supporting. And the congressman explains that it's the right for transgender people to live like everyone else regarding communal spaces. Matt then asks, so you mean like bathrooms and sports teams? This is when the congressman, of course, gets offended, because that's what you do on the left. People talk to you and you just get offended. And then he says, why are you bringing up bathrooms? It's just the right for them to live. The congressman didn't want to talk about the difficult questions, so then he deflects by asking why Matt is bringing up a certain topic and then condescends to Matt, implying that Matt is trying to deny the rights of people. I don't understand how some of these Democrats' minds work and where they get the fucking ideas to correlate the things that they do. This is probably the same fucking reason they don't understand analogies. It's like their heads are so fucking empty that there's only 3 total thoughts inside. And when anyone dares to ask a question that can't be answered by one of those 3 talking points, they freak out and leave the room like this congressman did. I feel sorry for you, California. I really do. Matt talks to a random person on the street wearing a purple hat and asks them if they can define what a woman is.
Women only know what women are.
Are you a cat?
No.
Can you tell me what a cat is? You want to tell us what a woman is?
Of course they say no and reply that you can only speak about things if you are that thing. The person says women only know what women are, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. This incident makes me think of that irritating leftist phrase, stay in your lane. Here's Detective Knight to scream at the camera about that. If the conversation doesn't revolve around cars, roads, or driving, don't fucking talk to me about staying in lanes. This leftist phrase is a weapon to tell the rest of us that we need to shut up. If you were only able to define things if you were that thing, I would know no definitions other than woman and American, because the only thing I am is an American woman. I wouldn't know what anything else is. No one would know what anything is. That's not realistic. I know what a computer is, but I'm not a computer. I know what a car is, but I'm not a car. That's just tangible things. Imagine trying to define something intangible, like political correctness, while believing that you can't define something without being that thing. Are you political correctness? No? If not, how the fuck would you define political correctness? See why you don't have to be that thing to define the thing?
What is a woman? Can you tell me that? Well, you're at the Women's March. You must have some idea. Please, if one person could tell me what a woman is.
You are not here for women! We ask you to leave!
What is that?
Oh, the Women's March clip. The Women's March clip. I don't know whether to laugh or cry or flip my desk over. How are you at the Women's March and you don't know what a woman is? Why are you at the Women's March and you can't say what a woman is? You're literally at the Women's March. It's just the irony of this situation. Do I even need to talk about this? I feel like I'm having an out-of-body experience. Am I dead? Is this real? How? Why are you at the Women's March? Why did I write this down in my notes? Matt goes to Africa and interviews the Maasai tribe, asking them the same question, what is a woman? And they answer it, which is a first in the movie.
A woman has its own duty, and a man has its own duty, and a lady cannot do the duty of a man, and a man cannot do a duty of a woman.
2 things here. 1, the truth obviously exists. The truth. Which is that men and women are different. And people who aren't brainwashed by gender ideology will admit that. How can people across the other side of the fucking world who live in Africa, who don't really have a whole lot of modern conveniences, how do they know the truth if the truth doesn't exist? Why would they say the same thing that some of us say if the truth didn't exist? And 2, gender ideology is a social construct that is brainwashing Americans and some other Western countries into acting like absolute fucking morons. If the African man had come to America and said the same thing he did, leftists here would call him an Uncle Tom who had sold out to the alt-right because he would not be towing the Democrat Party line based on the identity politics they would shove in his face. Matt mentions John Money and Alfred Kinsey, both creepy demons identifying as men who performed sexual experiments on children. These demons claimed their research was legitimate when it was actually fraudulent. John Money had an opinion about gender ideology, which was not true, and now the Alphabet Mafia has accepted it as truth. Not only that, but now the Alphabet Mafia is morally and emotionally blackmailing Americans into saying what they want. Otherwise, they will be deemed transphobic, the heathenist, anti-religious, anti-against leftist ideology heathen. You know what I'm gonna say. You're probably tired of me saying it, but opinions are not fucking facts. John Money's stupid-ass opinion is not a fact. Alfred Kinsey, on the other hand, looks like a demon in a suit as evidenced by his sunken eyes. I don't know what the fuck possessed anyone to believe anything he said because he literally looks like he crawled out of hell. Kinsey performed experiments on sex offenders, diddled infants until they had orgasms, then claimed his research was good for the public. Right. Money and Kinsey's research was just as good as Joseph Mengele's research. Mengele was a demon living in Germany who performed experiments on Jewish twins. Kinsey, Money, and Mengele are cut from the same creepy, demonic hellcloth, and all of their research should be thrown into the depths of Mordor where it can burn in hot lava for all eternity. Scott Nugent, a founder of TRE Voices, I don't know how to pronounce that, said something that made me think, oh dear. He said, for the first time, there is a marginalized group with a huge dollar sign on their heads. This is one of those revelations that a lot of people don't see. In our society, where every leftist claims to be against capitalism, the truth seems to be that leftists really actually do love capitalism. Here's what I think. The left buries their love for capitalism underneath emotional blackmail. When it comes to the medical industry, incredible amounts of corruption have come to light. Just take the Voldemort of years, 2020. The medical industry emotionally and morally blackmailed the public into believing absolute horseshit with leftist slogans like, wear a mask to save your neighbor's life, stay the fuck home, you're killing people's grandmothers, and you're a bad person if you don't do these things. Now, the medical industry is doing it again, this time using a marginalized group as their main pawn. Everyone else who's not in the marginalized group also still gets fucked over with these leftist slogans. That's transphobic. Trans kids will die. And you're a bad person if you don't say the approved things and agree with us 110%. The medical industry made a buttload of money pushing the vaccine on everyone. Sure, it was free, but the smart among us know nothing is free. Monetary compensation went somewhere. I'm always hearing of trans people having to save up for top surgeries. Guess why? Because the surgeries are expensive. The medical industry is making a buttload of money again off telling people they need elective surgeries. They're taking advantage of trans people. One critique the left has of capitalism is that it exploits people. Take a moment to think about what I just described. Now ask yourself, is the left exploiting trans people for monetary gain? Yeah, they sure as fuck are. The fact that the left will exploit people for monetary gain while projecting an image of high morality and superiority over everyone else is the worst way to use capitalism I have ever fucking heard of. If you exploit someone, lie to them by telling them you're helping them, you're literally evil. Ah, good old Jordan Peterson.
There are masculine girls. There are feminine boys. What are we going to do about that? Carve them up?
Jordan says people confuse personality and temperament for gender. Temperament can be masculine or feminine, but your temperament doesn't have to match your biology. I am one of those weird anomalies of women who don't fit into a neat, nice little box like the leftists, and what the leftists think conservatives desperately want me to do. The leftists want women to be man-hating abortion lovers who complain about social justice, intersectionality, and perpetual second-class citizen status. The left thinks the conservatives want women to be mothers and just make their men sandwiches all day while children steal their identity because they only live to make their children happy. I don't fit into any of those things. I love men, don't want on-demand abortion, despise social justice, and know I'm equal to men. I don't want to be a mother, and I don't live in my kitchen. I have a very strong identity, and I know who I am. I enjoy being a woman, I enjoy looking feminine, but I have a masculine temperament. I'm short-tempered, sometimes aggressive, I don't mind confrontation, and I could give a shit about what other people's opinions are of me. Yet I still love being a woman. I don't want to be a man just because my temperament is masculine. This irritating trend where people are expected to fit neatly into boxes as if we're shoes in shoeboxes at a shoe store is fucking stupid. Overall, What is a Woman was a good movie. I felt like Matt did a really good job of interviewing the crazy people. I don't think I would have been able to keep my calm while talking to some of these idiots like he did. I felt the strategy of letting the crazy people just keep talking was really effective, because when the crazy person has nothing to say, they'll just keep saying words that don't mean anything, and then their stupidity will be on full display. This movie was equally entertaining as it was disturbing. I feel like the tactics of the people Matt interviewed when they tried to evade his questions were indicative of them hiding something from the general public. I am glad this movie was made, and I am glad I watched it. I approve, not that anyone cares, and I'll see you on the next video.